What's good, guys? It is Reed and welcome back to a super sweet video. I think this will be a bit of a quicker video than I normally do, I hope, but I know I love blabbing, so I'll probably find a way to make it like 20 minutes long anyway. But it's gonna be a pretty quick little force, but this is honestly one of my favorite forces. Something I started doing in the last couple of months, but I do it all the time, and it's one of the most powerful forces. It's one of those visual forces. You know, this is the classic one that you do like that, right? And you like force the 10 of clubs going like that. Two problems for me. One, I don't know, I just never liked the way this feels like so condensed or like tight. Same with the riffle force. Like I love the riffle force, but it's just, there doesn't feel like much choice of freedom because it's all so like together in your hands. You don't have this nice sort of any card. It's and this whole stopping thing, like it feels like it's easy to be controlled. I don't know. And this one I felt the same. Honestly, I was just never so good at doing this and then kind of timing it right. Now, when I discovered that that you do this with a short card and it makes it a lot easier, that's great. But then I was like, oh, I'm never going to use a short card. And then I realized you could just in-jog a card a little bit and then you can do it like that. That's great, and I started to actually like it after I discovered that and use it a little more, but there's still something about it being condensed and I just didn't like it, and everyone does it that way, and there's like, I don't know, I didn't like it. So one day I was playing around with the dribble and then I realized that I might be able to do the same thing from a dribble, same idea. So I started playing around with that and I found some pretty cool applications, concepts for doing it from a dribble. I love it way more. I think it feels a lot more fair because you get all the cards going like that, yet you still tend to force one. I find it hits better. The spectators, it flies over their head because this is one of those forces that it's risky for two reasons. When you do like one of these kind of visual forces like that, it's risky for two reasons. One, the analytical people or some people will pick up they only really had a choice of one card. They couldn't really see any of the others, right? So that's a risk you run into. And another risk is just missing. It's not necessarily 100%, but you can pretty much get it there. So I found that with this, I was getting that a lot less of, oh, I could only see one card, right? So I really like this sort of visual dribble force idea. This one's good as well, utilizing the short card. Let's see here. Let's force the 3 of hearts. It's nice. You can sort of choose whatever card you want to force, which is great. But I did figure out a way to be able to force any card you want with the dribble force as well. A little bit more difficult, but I think it looks a little bit better. So without any further ado, let's get into the visual dribble force. All right, guys, for a quick demo on the visual dribble force, I've placed one card right here, and that card, like all other cards, has one mate in the deck. So I'm just going to dribble through these cards, and I just want you to think of one that you see. Not this one, obviously, because that's too easy, but just think of one that you see. All right? I'll give these cards a mix. You could be thinking of any card you want, right? Any card at all. I want you to scream the name of the card that you're just thinking of at the screen, and hopefully this should be the mate. So that is the visual dribble force. For some exposure, well, I'll just do it in slow motion. That's essentially it, and I would have forced the 7 of spades in that case. So let's get into the breakdown. So the visual dribble force, if you're good at the dribble, you're good at this. One thing that I love about the dribble force is that I'm very good at the dribble. So this is, and it's something I do a lot, so it's very natural for me to do this, all right? So it's very simple. All you're doing essentially is dribbling, stopping for a split second, and then continuing to dribble. But there's a few very important nuances and little things that make this sort of work. So you want to do this to the point where there's a very smooth break, and it almost doesn't feel like there's any break in the card, but it just gives your eyes long enough to identify the card, right? So something like that, where it seems very smooth, but you still see the 2 of clubs. What you don't want to do is go so fast that you can't discern any one of the cards, and you don't want to pause here so that it becomes really obvious, right? So first I'll touch on the dribble mechanics. So you're going to grip it with the 3 fingers on the front here. So pinky, ring, and middle finger, with the middle finger and the ring finger just hanging over the front of the deck. The thumb is on the back corner, also hanging off, and the index finger is along the side. And as you're dribbling, this is going to slide up like this. You're going to push down on the deck like this, pulling the back thumb upwards, okay? You can use this index finger to push down to get that bow. Then you're gonna start to release cards off the fingers and the thumb by kind of opening the tips of the fingers slowly so it'll drop one card at a time. And having them bowed like this is going to allow the cards to shoot. Now to catch them, this hand just does this kind of straddle grip, and so it's going to tilt towards you so that the cards will fall in and slide back, right? They fall in and they slide back into the hand. The pinky is going to provide that brace at the bottom, the fingers on this side, the thumb on this side, and then since you're tilted back, they won't fall out the front, right? So you kind of create this basket and they all fall into that basket. So it just takes a bit of practice. Now, a few tips for the force. You want to start with the cards face down. You don't want to start with them up like this. Start with them face down, and you're coming up, tilting the hand so they can see the faces, and then coming back. So it's down to up to back down. So you're going to be dribbling, 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 and you're stopping the second this hand becomes perpendicular to this hand. So the second the deck goes from here to 90 degrees, right? From here to here. That is when you stop. For your split second, you almost don't need to think about it. Because your hand comes to this position, the dribbling kind of almost stops by itself, and then you keep going. So you almost just keep dribbling and it slows down almost on its own, right? You almost don't have to think about it. What you want to try to time is that as you get to here, you stop, and then the second you start dribbling, like the second you dribble the next card, you're already on your way down, hiding these cards out of view. Because if you think about it, cards are out of view, they come into view, and then you want them to come out of view again. So really they only have the option to see the one, but if you do it at speed, it feels like they see all the cards, right? So that is kind of the main rhythm, right? So you just want to come up, they see it, and then you come back down. And so there I would have forced the Jack of Spades, for example. You want to start fast, slow down, and then go fast again. Basically, the second you pause, dribble as fast as you can so that they have no chance to see anymore, right? So stop, and then I'm just shooting all the rest, basically. Now, obviously, you don't want to go from here and then just kind of like this. That's why you do the smooth motion up and smooth motion down. But it is important that the second this card is seen, then you start to really speed up that dribbling as fast as you can to hide all the other ones. So that's pretty much fast, pause, fast again as you come back down. So again, the second you've paused here, just dribble as quickly as you can. Just get it all out. So that hand tilt is really important. This is one of those things that's hard to show you guys slow, but I do use this force a lot, and it just takes a little bit of knack to be able to stop on a card. You can see how that's really smooth and it almost barely seems like it's stopping. But to your eyes, it feels like you saw all the cards, but you can only register one, which is so amazing because you're moving at more frames per second than our eyes can see, except for one frame, which is when they're going to identify the card. Now, I'll give you a little hint here. Don't do this on old people. It does not work well on old people. They need many frames to pause in a second to see, and so no matter how slow you pause, they're still not going to be able to identify a card. So don't use it on old people, but young people, it definitely works quite well. So in terms of some subtleties, I love to do this beforehand. While I'm explaining, I'll do a little subtlety here, which is I'll say, I want you to just think of any one of these cards, and I'll do a very fair dribble that's kind of open the whole time, and that'll psychologically make it feel like, one, I'm doing the same thing the second time I do it, but also it'll really instill that they could have chosen any card. So I'll say, in a second, I'm going to go through the cards like this. I want you to think of any one of those cards that you see, all right? So that's all I do. I do it once as I'm explaining, and I say, all right, you got one, and we are good to go. And I'll emphasize, that they don't pick this one usually. That's a good sort of idea. But again, just make sure the second that they've seen this, you start to tilt the hand back down as you spring, and that'll help hide the chance that they see any other cards, right?
Hey guys, so I just wanted to show you guys a quick performance of how this force can be used in the real world. So this is an effect I did. Unfortunately, I lost the audio for this clip and a lot of other clips, so I didn't use it, but it's a great clip and you'll still get the idea of how I use this force. Now, I also want to mention a few things that I just thought about later that I forgot to mention in the video that I do think are important and nice little subtleties when doing this force and will help you hit a lot more of the time. So the first thing here, what you'll see me do, he already knows what's going to happen. He knows that I'm going to dribble the cards and he's going to think of one. And I say it's a good idea to flash all the cards while you're explaining that so it makes them feel like they see all the cards. But another thing that's great to do is when you actually go to do the force, what you'll see me do here is the first time I do it, I purposely right there dribble very fast. So, and you can see he didn't see a card. So I do that on purpose. I dribble the cards very fast to make sure that it's impossible for him to see a card, right? I don't even really show the faces. I just dribble and I say, do you got one? And they'll say no. What this does is it puts them in a bit of a vulnerable state, right? They feel like, oh no, I should have been able to see a card, but I didn't. What that's going to do is it's going to prep them for the next one to see the easiest card for them to see, because they're in the mindset that, oh no, like, is there something wrong with me? Why can't I see a card? I need to see one for the next time or the trick's not going to work. And they kind of have that pressure on them. That also alleviates the worry that you might have of someone saying, oh, you only showed me one card, I could only see one anyway, because now they really want to pick a card. So, and because they felt like they couldn't see any the first time because you didn't let them, they're going to feel like whatever card they do end up seeing, which will be your force card the second time you do it, now they won't question, why did I only see one card? Because they understand it's clearly difficult to see the cards this way because the first time they didn't see any. So the second time, the fact that they glimpsed one, they won't question it because they'll understand that it must be difficult for me to see the cards, or to see a card to think of when he's doing it like this, right? So now you can watch me do this a second time and he gets a card, no problem. He got the force card here. So this is a routine I'll be teaching very soon. I have a tutorial coming out on this. Such a killer trick, as you'll see from the reactions in a second. But this isn't really about the effect. I'd also like to give the pointer that when you're giving them the instructions of what they're going to do, which is, I'm going to dribble the cards and I want you to think of one that you see. Make sure you emphasize that you see. And after they've said they got one, make sure you say, you saw a card, right? So that they haven't just made one up, right? This really emphasizes that they see a card. So anyway, those are a few quick things I wanted to mention, and a quick performance video of me actually using this force in the real world as some proof that it does work. Like I said, I'll be teaching this effect very soon. It's so powerful, and you can see how the element of that visual force truly makes it feel like a thought of card, and by the reactions you can see how much that elevates the trick. So this is fantastic for all of your tricks that require a force, if you can kind of implement this thought of card.
In terms of body language with this, you definitely want to be natural, make it mimic your regular dribble for the most part, and just smooth is the biggest thing. You want to be fairly quick and smooth with this. You know, I mean, that's the best way to do it, guys. Like, you just got to keep practicing until you can get it, so it's quite fluid and doesn't feel like you're really stopping on any cards, any card in particular. So in terms of uses and other ideas, so for this force, for what I've taught you so far, obviously in this one you'd just be watching as well, and you would identify whatever the force card happens to be. So this is great in a lot of routines where it doesn't matter what the card is, and in a lot of cases it won't matter. You can just, you know, figure out the card later. So most of the time when I use this, I'll say, I want you to think of a card that you see. I'll go like this, boom, I'll know now that I've forced the 7 of diamonds. I won't know until the force happens, right? So I'll do the force, and at that moment I'll be watching too, and I'll see what card is forced. And when I see it, now I know the force card. And then I'll say, look, you could be thinking of any one of these cards, and now I'll call out the 7 of diamonds, and I have control over their thought of card, which is awesome. So that's mostly how I use this. I think it's definitely easier, and it's better just to, if you can, force any card if it doesn't matter. Now, there is a way to force a specific card. What you need to do is control that card to the bottom of the deck. So let's say King of Diamonds, and you're gonna cut the King of Diamonds into the middle and hold a break below it, okay? And now you essentially do the same thing, and that break is going to naturally make you stop on the King of Diamonds. I don't know if you saw that there. Let's try again here with the Ace of Clubs. You can see how it naturally stops you like that. Here, this time Jack of Diamonds, and you can see how it naturally forced that card. So you can use this to force any card. It's more difficult. The tip there is that what's going to happen as you spring, you're just going to stop on that break every single time. So you're gonna need to get used to the second you stop, making an extra effort to bend those cards and dribble the rest so it doesn't stop for long, okay? Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna go like this, and you're just gonna come to a dead stop. So you need to go and then keep emphasizing to make sure you keep going past the point where the break is. Because the break is a little bit higher on the thumb than you're used to when you dribble, it's gonna be a little bit weird to keep those last few cards dribbling, but you'll get used to it. You just have to really emphasize it at first until you get used to it. Now you're probably wondering about this big break. You know, you have it as a pinky break, say, you transfer to a thumb break, and as I do that, I just make sure the deck's facing them. And then with this one, I just kind of start from here, do it, and then I come back down, right? So what it looks like if I force the 7 of clubs is just like this, kind of like that, right? So you tend to start just like this and then have it that way, but you can definitely force whichever card you want with this. One of my favorite ways to use this is a trick I call Mind Reader, which I'll be teaching soon. And then in a pair routine, so basically I'll have them shuffle. As I get the deck back, I'll peek the bottom card, and then I'll go and I'll say, I'm gonna make a prediction. I will pull out the mate of the bottom card, and I will set it in my pocket or even hand it to them. I'll cut the mate into the middle, do the visual dribble force, and I'll say, you're just thinking of a card. How crazy would it be if that's the card you're thinking of? What's the card you're thinking of? They'll say 6 of spades, and I'll reveal the 6 of clubs. Very quick trick, but super hard hitting, guys. So that's a quick idea with this force. I hope you like it. All right, guys, so that is the visual dribble force, a awesome force, one that I love to use these days, especially in that one routine that I'll teach you guys eventually. It's super strong, and this is one of the easiest forces to sell as a thought of card, so it makes it that much crazier if you can really sell it. Make sure you recap with this. You could have thought of any card you want, doing that little demonstration before you get into it and slowing that down a little bit so it really feels like they could have seen any card. Super killer and makes it fair. Even when you're recapping, you can say, look, I did this. Look, you could have chosen any one of those cards, right? Stuff like that. So I use this to do a thought of card all the time, and it's so strong. So give it a try. It's a nice little variation to this one that I haven't really seen before. So, and I prefer it. I just think it's better. So I hope you guys like that little force. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you guys want to learn or any videos you want me to make. That is my question of the video. I would love to hear any ideas of tutorials you guys want or what you'd like me to teach coming down the pipes in the future. So thank you guys for watching. Thanks for all the support. You know how much it means to me, guys. So with all that said, let me find my Jack of Hearts. Make sure you guys like the video, make sure you comment, all that good stuff. Subscribe, tell your friends. Thank you guys, and I will catch you in the next video.